Get ready with me while I tell you a story about my neighbour that made me move out. In my most recent apartment before I moved to London, I was actually living by myself in Rose Bay, which is in Sydney. Really nice place in Sydney. Like, I've never really had issues with neighbours before. Actually, no, I have. One shot my cat. He shot it with... He did, yeah. But it was like one of those pellet guns. And by the way, my cat survived. But anyway, that's not the story I'm going to tell you today about my old neighbour. Anyway, I lived on the second floor and there was no lift. So to get to my apartment, I would always walk past this door. And let me tell you, this door stunk. Oh. Is that me? Am I a bitch? I mean like a mixture of dead body, dead corpse, and maybe a bit of shit. Not that I've smelt a damn person, but it was, oh. I could imagine. So every day I walk past, hold my nose, run. Just gotten back from Bali on a trip with my boyfriend, and he had just moved to London before me. So we spent a few weeks in Bali together and then he'd gone to London. I'm just saying this for context. I just couldn't get anyone to like yell at him and like tell him no. I have a few suitcases, as you do, girls. I carried my carry-on upstairs. I'm walking downstairs and I noticed the door's a little bit like open, like that much, but like I don't really look in and it's dark inside. So I'm just like, forget about it. I'm not really like concentrating. Go down, I'm like, you know, like taking a breather, you know? Exhausted, you know, just catching a breath. Anyway, so as I'm catching my breath down there, I look back up at the door and, oh, this is when it gets scary. So look away if you're scared. I look up and I realize that someone's staring at me. Like this. Like that. And I'm like, oh! And I'm like, hi. No reply. Hi. And then this like feeling of my body just like takes over and I'm literally fucking petrified at this point. And I'm like, oh my God, I just feel sick, like really weird, because I just see this like body staring at me in the darkness, like in this little like gap. And I'm like, hi, I can see you. Hi, how are you? Come inside. When I tell you reenacting that gave me shivers. I've got chills. I am still petrified. Oh, babe, stop. I said stop looking at me. He was so scary looking. He looked like a haunted Santa. First part of this video, I said that he made me move out. I was already going to move to London, but he made it a lot harder for me. And I literally wouldn't sleep there alone. Like I made my mum stay there with me. I would stay at my friends. Like I would literally have random people on the street and I'd be like, can you watch me run up the stairs? Like my neighbor, I made friends with my neighbor. He agreed. Like he was like, yeah, my ex-girlfriend used to come over and he used to just stare her down and like try and talk to her. I was like, pedophile, he's a pedophile. And I reckon there was dead bodies in there. So if something comes out about a murder in Rose Bay, don't be shocked. I've warned you. I called the police, I didn't care. And I didn't really talk for the rest of it. I just finished my makeup and this was my outfit. Scared girls unite. I'm a little princess. What can you do? I'm a scared girl. Bye.
What happened in the story was so sad that I needed to take a break before moving on to the next episode. And the unfortunate thing is, I'm not talking about just any series. This is a true story told in the docuseries Worst Neighbor Ever, a spin-off of different ones like Worst Ex Ever and Worst Roommate Ever. And in this video, I am talking about episode 3. So before I share my thoughts and give too many details away, if you want to watch it for yourself, you can right now on Netflix. Now, this episode is titled Fear Thy Neighbor, and it follows this expecting couple, Miles and Melina, as they move their beautiful blended family into what they thought was their dream home. Little did they know this dream would soon become a nightmare. Around that time, they had this neighbor that goes by JT, and JT lived with his parents inside of their detached garage. But in 2019, the person who owned the home and who his parents were renting from passed away. And following that, he and his parents were evicted and eventually moved out of the home. While these are the circumstances, JT refused to leave. And this is where the issues for Miles and Melina really began. Let me tell you right now, this man was terrorizing their family, smashing windows, making threats, and even when he was arrested after things got too far, he made a promise that he would come back and take Miles's life. All Miles wanted to do was protect his family, and it is so sad because just when it seemed like they were gonna get a fresh start, JT took that from him. After all the harassment and torment, Miles and Melina moved out of their family home and into an apartment. All they really needed to do at that house was make it look nice so they could sell it. And on this particular day, Miles was only there doing some final things. And that is when JT showed up, chased him down, and shot him multiple times. And unfortunately, he passed away. Hearing the neighbors recount the story of when it happened and also Melina telling her heartbreaking experience, I'm telling you, it was so fucking sad. And when she went into explaining how everything transpired that day, I immediately thought about how this is a prime example of why I am a strong believer of saying goodbye with love, because you never know what's going to happen. What this family went through was just so horrifying, and it was even more disgusting when you find out that the police could have done more to prevent it. Yes, they did mention that this happened during 2020 when everything was shut down, but still, it did not have to escalate to that point. In the end, at least this man is exactly where he belongs, in prison serving a life sentence. What did make me smile though was seeing his newborn daughter and how much she looks like him. If you haven't seen this episode yet, I highly recommend that you do. Again, it's episode 3 of Worst Neighbor Ever, titled Fear Thy Neighbor, and you can watch it right now on Netflix. If you've seen it, you already know I want to know your thoughts, so go ahead and let me know in the comment section.
Okay, quick story time before I go to bed. And this story is actually kind of short. So you know how they say it takes a village? In Haiti, that's like they literally go by that. To a point where I think it's extreme because your neighbors are allowed to whoop your ass. But that's only if your parents allow it. Since this story is literally based in Haiti, we're going to use Haitian ass names. So there's this little boy. His name is Joseph. Now, Joseph's parents owned a lot of land. And so his house was huge. Like the land around his house was huge. They owned animals and everything. And most of it is generational. And so in their backyard, which is huge, there was a tree. And for as long as Joseph was born, it was always embedded in his head to not go near that tree and do not eat any fruits from that tree. It was like a family rule. Everybody in that house knew to never eat fruit from that tree. Even the neighbors knew. Now, Joseph goes to his neighbors to play all the time. Sometimes some of his neighbor friends comes to his house to play. Anyways, he's outside one day playing with his friends, and they discovered that a couple of blocks down, there's a new family that moved in. And that family had a little boy. Let's name him Fanfan. Told y'all we gonna use Haitian ass names. So Fanfan sees Joseph and his friends. New kids, new neighbors to play with. They get along really well. Play all the time outside, and eventually he comes to Joseph's house. Now, Fanfan was one of those kids that loved climbing trees, and he was so good at it too. He always used to love to impress his friends with how fast he can climb a tree. And so they get to Joseph's house, and like I said, huge. And Fanfan's like, whoa, there's so many trees here. And so he immediately picks a tree, and he goes and he climbs it. And everybody's impressed, like, oh shoot, Fanfan just climbed that tree so fast. So he's like, y'all think that was something? Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. I'm about to climb that big tree over there. And immediately everybody's like, no, not that tree. And Fanfan's taking it as like, y'all think I can't do this? Everybody's like, no, Fanfan, just do not touch that tree. Like, don't go near it, nothing. Fanfan's like, wow, y'all really think I'm weak. Y'all really think I can't climb that big ass tree. He's like, I bet, watch this. He runs to that tree. He climbs all the way to the top. The kids are freaking out at this point because one minute they could hear Fanfan because as he was climbing, he was talking. And the next, he got up there. He got buried under the leaves and they heard nothing else. So Joseph runs inside his house, tells his grandmother. His grandmother's jaw drops to the floor. She runs outside and everybody's calling Fanfan's name. Fanfan, can you hear us? Fanfan? Nothing. Not even a peep. It's as if he just disappeared. Once they realized they couldn't hear nothing from him anymore, Grandma calls Joseph's parents. Tell them what was going on. Everybody rushes home. At this point, it's nighttime. Fanfan just disappeared. The kids explain to them what happened. Fanfan's parents are looking for him. The kids that were involved, Joseph's friends, they done already told their parents. So word got around that fast. And so Fanfan's parents shows up to Joseph's parents' house, demanding for their kid because they heard what happened. And his parents couldn't even give her an answer. This became like a huge deal in that town. Now Joseph's family is known as the family that mange Fanfan. And mange means eat. So they put all the blame on the family to the point where they had to They got ran out of town. Yeah, it was so bad that they had to leave. But yeah, that's the story. Nobody knows what happened to Fanfan. Joseph's family, no, none of the members of that family ever said anything about it. They avoided all questions. Some of them even got attacked by some people in the town. And so they had to dip. Make sure you guys are subscribed to my YouTube channel because I'm about to drop another podcast episode. And make sure you are following me on Instagram for updates. The link is in my bio. Just click that little Instagram icon and you're going to see both.
One time I lived in a building where this guy had a really big crush on me, but he was married and they were in like a weird open marriage or something. And anyways, he had a crush on me, but I didn't have a crush on him. I didn't like him at all. In fact, I took advantage of maybe one too many dinners. It's my fault. It's my fault. But I also like never gave the hint that I was interested. Like I would go for like the lunches and dinners, but I was like, okay, like maybe it was like 3 of them. Okay. In my defense, it wasn't like all the time. But I was like, okay, maybe, like, I'll accept a free steak dinner, like, fine, like, and then I'll just go home after. And, like, I never hooked up with this guy or, like, anything like that. We strictly only went out to eat, like, twice. I don't even think 3 times, I think twice. Anyways, I couldn't get past after, like, 2. I was like, yeah, you know, wanted to take it to the next step. And I was like, nah, I can't even do this anymore. So, I was kind of trying to, like, fade out gracefully, right? And I was moving soon to a new building. I did not want this guy because he was a little persistent. And like, I was like, here's my escape plan is that I'm going to move to this new building. He won't know where I live. And then that'll be that. Maybe I'll see him on the social scene. Maybe not. No big deal. It's like, I'll ease my way out. And so, the day I move into my new apartment, I walk into the apartment and I see a bouquet of flowers sitting on my island, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. The apartment leaves flowers for you. That's so sweet. And then, like, as I'm unpacking, I look in the fridge and the freezer, and there's ice cream in the freezer. And I was like, oh, someone left this behind. That's weird. Like, it wasn't open. It was like the Snickers ice cream, which was my favorite. But anyways, I go look at the flowers and I look at the card. They're from the guy. And so I got downstairs and I was like, yeah, I thought that maybe you guys had left me flowers, but then I realized that they're from this guy. Like, how did they get here? And they were like, oh yeah, how sweet. Your boyfriend, he lied and said he was my boyfriend, came to the building. And mind you, it was the same property management company that managed both. And so I think the front desk guy at my old place had told him where I was moving to. He somehow found out. Okay, it gets worse. He finds out where I lived. He went there the day before I moved in to leave the gifts in my apartment. And the girl was like, that was so sweet. Yeah, your boyfriend came and we brought him up and he left those for you. And I was like, I'm sorry. You brought him up? You brought him up to my exact unit. Yeah, we brought him in. He put him in there for you. And like, we wanted to make sure everything was okay. Hold on. First of all, ma'am, I don't have a boyfriend. Second of all, that's a weirdo in my old building that I've been trying to avoid and get away from. And I didn't want him to know where I lived. How does he know where I lived? And she was just like, I don't know. He said he was your boyfriend. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you have someone new moving into your building and a random guy who's not on my lease, no correlation whatsoever, comes in and says that he wants to leave things in my unit and you escorted him up? Thank God he wasn't an actual stalker and he never like showed up. I mean, maybe he drove by, I don't know, but he never showed up. He never sent me anything after that. I made it very clear how inappropriate it was and that I'm not interested. And I couldn't even take legal action or anything with the apartments because she was like, oh, like I confronted her immediately and she's like, oh, well, technically since he came yesterday, like it wasn't your unit yet. And I was like, oh, that's how we're going to play it. Okay, biatch, like awesome, thanks. Now this creepy guy knows where I live. Great start to a new apartment. It ended up being an okay apartment. That was the one. I have another story time where they like gave the key to my unit. You have to go see it. They gave the key to my unit to some random dog walker and it was like the wrong unit. Idiots. Anyway, he never stalked me or anything though. And like the only way I could take legal action is if like the guy stalked me beyond that and he didn't. So it was all good. But why is everyone so weird?